Good morning, good evening, good afternoon from wherever you're watching. This time, what I want to do is I want to talk about how to have independence from the prison of your false self. That's what I want to talk about today. And I had to look up independence. The fact and the state of being independent is the definition: free from outside control, not depending on another's authority. And I think the biggest control, is our false self. The part of us that's operating in fear, the part of us that's not operating in truly who we were designed to be. Let's break down the structure of the false self. The very thing that you're trapped on your false self when you're trying to prove that you're good enough. You're trying to prove that you're good enough to people. Problem with trying to prove that you're good enough, you stop looking at your flaws because you're still trying to prove. You're not looking at the blind spot that you have. The problem with that, you can't improve what you think you're good at, and a sick person cannot be healed when they think they're well. So you can't heal when you think you're well. So that's the problem with this pattern of proving that you're good enough. And another thing about that, you become not relatable. You become also not vulnerable. And there's a disconnect emotionally with you and people. Okay, that's number one. Number two, another prison of false self, the way it shows up is controlling of others. Control of others people's emotions and opinions. This is making, I don't care about that. Well, if you care about people's opinion of you, then that means you're trying to control their opinion of you, how they view you. The more you try to control something, the more it controls you. So the problem with that, again, is we say things like, well, if I get approval, therefore I'm okay with it. If I don't get rejected, then I'll do this, which is called fear of failure and fear of success. They're all the same. But the problem with that is we start to hide our true self in protection. And the problem with that also, it starts to fill up our ego. The last prison cell or self-made prison is the actual jailer, the person that you're trying to please. People pleasing. People pleaser of an authority figure, to be exact. Okay, so we look for someone that we're going to please, and sometimes we create our own authority figure from our past. Our false self becomes the authority figure, and we don't know it, but it's probably a parent authority figure that we have inside of us that we're trying to please. So we become the quote-unquote go-to person. We become the sacrificial lamb. We become the person that everybody goes to. We people please. We become the healer of all, but yet we're the sickest of all. When you're trying to please authority figure, you become that sacrificial lamb. So how to shift that real quick? First thing to shift that, to unlock that prison jail, is vulnerability and honesty is the roadmap to being enough. When you're vulnerable and you're honest with your shortcoming, with your blind spots. Here's the thing about blind spot. You can't see it. Like even when I drive, a blind spot is that side, mirror. And even on my side mirror, I can't see it. I have a mirror, I can't see it. I need that extra little mirror, a little bubble mirror to see the spot. And that little extra mirror in our life, I think, is other people. It's other people that we trust, meaning to try to point things out to us. But we need vulnerability and honesty in order for them to even be able to point something else. So we got to release the feeling of our ego. Release the feeling of our ego. Remember, I talked about, well, I'm good enough. I'm good. I didn't try to prove that I'm good enough. I'm trying to be successful. Look at me, look at me. That's a feeling of the ego. Releasing of the ego is having humility, vulnerability, and honesty. Point number two is focus on self-control, not other control, self-control. Clean up the side of your street. How am I able to have self-control? First of all, you got to accept you. You got to accept who you are. You got to be comfortable with who you are and allow your true self to come out. Allow reality, new choices. A lot of times, we think we only have two choices. Only two, it's black and white. But there's many other choices when you allow your true, authentic self to come out. When you let go of control of others, you're going to see many more choices. Lastly, number three, look for the solution versus being the solution. Leverage yourself by saying no and delegating to other people, the expert. Do not be the expert of everything. Don't be the lamb that gets killed, okay? You don't need to be killed as a lamb. So sometimes, you know what the solution is? Sometimes the solution is allowing other people to experience the consequences of their action so they can learn. Sometimes that's the solution. So the key to your freedom is three things. Number one, vulnerability, honesty. Two, focus on self. Three, look for the solution without you being the solution. That's what I wanted to share. I want to thank you so much for watching. Again, put me on the comment and then I'll reach out to you so you can start in your journey of discovering your authentic self. Thank you for watching.